Greetings and salutations on this Friday, April the 5th, 2024. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne, and this is Things You Might Not Have Heard for this day. And we're going to give you, as in the queue, 8 stories from the past, that's yesterday, that you vetted as conversational for covering topics of information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. Now, we'll tell you how that vetting process worked as we get through the headlines. You'll want to know how it works because you'll want to know how these stories get here, especially if you're new here and understand how these things work. We're not just picking random stories. And we have some fun stuff at the end of the day and special stuff for Friday. So stick around for everything that happens after the headlines. Our website is this. It's theconversationproject.com. More information about us, what we do all the time, every single day here on the internet to give you good news and good conversational pieces. And our email address is theconversationinbox@gmail.com. That's theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Gmail may be 20 years old and maybe deleting a bunch of old stuff, but we will still be there with that box to get you information back and forth to chat things up. Chat up, give us information, what you want to do there. Now, let's get into the stories for this morning. Now, here's the thing. No particular order as they're being presented. We'll give you some context along the way to see how things kind of fell through. But as we just pull the stories, top 15 stories a day into the 8 stories here, we just sort of laid them out here as the best way to do a narrative. So that's how they got to be here today. But story number 1 is the big one. And it's the one we actually wanted to tease, but Angel Reese seems like a bigger story, even though this is kind of the biggest story going on. New York State demanding more information on Trump's $107 million appeal bond in civil fraud case. So what happened? A few days ago, Trump was able to put up his $175 million bonds for the lower amount of bond for the case of just he's actually owed about $500 million, $454, I believe is the real number. But he's able to come up with the smaller number for bond to get things going and to be able to appeal without Letitia James pulling his assets. Problem is, there's some questions about the bond agency that actually put the money up, whether they are actually a legal bond agency in the state of New York City, and do they have $1,075,000 in assets in that state that they can actually claim come time to pull that money if they need to, because of the shadiness of that one. The reports went from deal has been squashed or bail has been revoked or things like that to essentially, as we had the headline here, more questions being asked about the company doing this thing. Are they really up to par for this thing? We shall see very soon, because the hearing is set to happen, I guess, tomorrow or today as it is, so they can go forward with this case because Trump's all over the cases right now. Here's our second headline for this morning. And this is the big one, the really big one, if you will. Angel Reese announces to join rival Caitlin Clark in WNBA draft for 2024, leaving fans surprised. So why are fans surprised about Angel Reese heading off to the WNBA? For the same reason people are talking about Caitlin Clark and her jump to the big leagues, actual league, if you will. They're both going to lose some money. Caitlin Clark, it was her time and she was going to be in the draft. She's going to go forward and just go on at a professional level. Angel Reese has another year or so of eligibility, and she could make more money with likeness, image, and or name, image, and likeness deals, NIL deals, in college than you can in pro basketball as a female. The money structure isn't there because the WNBA is not a big time cash maker. It's a supplemental league to the NBA. It goes along with it. And in many cases, most of the teams are losing cash and being bailed out by their sponsor teams or some other sponsor in the way. It's a way to keep women playing professionally, a way to give women something to do. And they'd say it like that, but it's a way to put a spotlight on women athletes on a professional level, get them paid so they don't have to go play in Russia. We know what happens when things like that happens. Problem is, the money doesn't exist like it does overseas. Oddly enough, women's sports is much more lucrative overseas, which is why so many people play large chunks of their seasons or off seasons overseas. Angel Reese going to the WNBA, and she's going to actually probably end up being drafted someplace into a rival of Caitlin Clark someplace in the future. But as the men are saying, they're going to lose some money on it, which may or may not be the point of the whole situation. May not be the whole point of the conversation. May just be, angry guys yelling back and forth to keep people watching them on TV, your first takes and all. We will see how this thing plays out in real time, in real dollars, very soon. Also real dollars in real time. NFL Network has announced it's fired multiple popular television personalities and analysts during a massive offseason purge. Because of a bunch of deals that happened over the last season, including DirecTV losing the Sunday ticket going to YouTube TV, and YouTube TV having a lot of its own staff ready to go to do the show, the DirecTV staff was essentially expendable. And instead of reshuffling, putting them in other places, and basically because they had more people, they wanted to save the money. So NFL Network announced yesterday the firings of Andrew Siciliano, Melissa Stark, James Palmer, and Will Silva. It's considerable attention, including people saw them as regular faces on the network and regular faces in the actual world of sports, doing commentary, doing whatever. Andrew Siciliano was the actual host of the Sunday Ticket on DirecTV for last couple of seasons, I believe. Melissa Stark, pretty big as an analyst, doing her thing going forward. And we'll see what happens going next. Will it be picked up by some other place? Probably fairly soon. Will Siciliano go back to radio for a bit? Because I learned about him, knew him when he was doing lots of radio a few years back when I was still doing sports radio. They will probably land on their feet someplace fairly soon, although many of the jobs out there are drying up because of media these days. But we'll see what happens with this big announcement, shocking a lot of fans, but of course, not shocking people in the business. This one shocked a lot of people in the business and in the world of just being, nerds. Julia Garner to play a version of Silver Surfer in Marvel's Fantastic Four. Now, Marvel's not quite going woke because there is an actual character in this saga named Shala Bal, who is actually wrapped up into the Norrin Rad mythology of being the Silver Surfer and how it works out with the Fantastic Four. However, they're not going with the dude. They're going with a lady who will play a female version of a Silver Surfer, a variant, if you will, of the Silver Surfer as a Silver Surfer, but not Norrin Rad, who has a big, long backstory of his own, which people sort of love, and maybe people don't really love the Julia Garner's taking in on the Shala Bal's character or taking on what they're going to do to turn it into a MCU addict thing. We don't know what this really means because we haven't seen the script yet, but we do know that people are up in arms because the Silver Surfer is not a man, it is a woman, and some people have a problem with that. Let's go to the fifth story in today's headlines. Headline reads, Conan O'Brien's first Tonight Show guest appearance since leaving office. Since leaving. I read that totally wrong. I think I actually messed up the actual clipping of the actual headline it is. But Conan O'Brien is going to make his first appearance on The Tonight Show as a guest since he left The Tonight Show, since he left being the host of The Tonight Show many, many years ago. This is a magical time, I guess we'll see. But leaving in the manner it was, being basically retaken over by Jay Leno in 2010, was pretty much a bitter feeling and started a whole new revolution in Conan's life and Conan's business and sort of the way we do late night in comedy. If we didn't have Conan O'Brien going to TBS and doing his show there, we probably would not have a lot of things we have with just in the shorts versions and the things that are online, and sometimes in the ways we do things for network right now, because people had to compete with the more cable friendly or more or less friendly, if you will, shows that O'Brien could put on because you had to extra pay for basic cable, wasn't over the air. Now, this April 9th, 2024, that's next week, he's going to show up 14 years since he last hosted, to be a guest with Jimmy Fallon on Tonight Show. We shall have a hoot. It shall be a blast. We'll see what happens. Basically, we have to just sit back and see how this thing's going to go. I'm sure Conan's not going to embarrass himself. He's going to make this as a great appearance and hype some of the things he's doing right now. Not doing the daily TV show anymore, doing the podcast, doing Sirius XM radio, doing specials, doing some stand-up, actually. So a good chance to see Conan O'Brien and what he's doing right now, and doing it on his old show 14 years past the time he stopped hosting it. In Los Angeles, a heist that sounds like something out of a thriller novel had thieves taking $30 million in cash. This happened over the weekend, and this is a story that has been kind of going on and on and on and on. What do you do on your Easter weekend? You basically mostly probably hang out with family, maybe go to egg roll, do some church stuff. A large heist that took $30 million in cash happened over Easter. The largest cash heist in the area, the burglary occurring in Los Angeles money storage facility. You see pictures of some armored trucks that would carry around the money. That's essentially what got hit. The event captured public attention, not only for the sheer amount of money stolen, $30 million, a lot going on, but because The whole thing seemed to play out like it was some sort of movie. Like Tom Cruise was going to come in there and deal this thing. Like it was ready for a plot with a high-speed chase and some evil guy, rubbing his chin as the money was coming in, and somebody else petting a cat. It was nuts. This was bonkers. This was amazeballs, and it got pulled off in grand fashion over the weekend. Let's go to the number 7 story this morning. This headline reads, "The Athletics will leave Oakland after the 2024 season, this season, and play at least 3 years in a minor league ballpark in West Sacramento before Vegas residency." We know the Oakland Athletics are going to be replaced by a minor league team next season. So you'll see, I think they're called the Oakland Bees or something like that, and they're a minor league team. The big problem is the Athletics, the A's, don't have a place to play. They are en route to Las Vegas, but they don't have a stadium yet. We have seen some various placing of some of the concept art, what sort of weird sort of monstrosity that they want to build for them to play into. But it ain't there yet. It won't be there next year. What they're going to do, they're going to play in Sacramento for at least 3 seasons. What's that do for the minor league team? Well, hopefully their stadium is a fairly big stadium, so they make some money off that. And hopefully the minor league team is understanding that they're going to make more money off the A's being there than their actual team, because minor league baseball is about paying the rent, not so much about good players. Where those players go, I don't know. They may play in Oakland. I have no idea. But we'll see how this thing plays out. This has been a big sort of ongoing kerfuffle, because people in Oakland kind of wanted the A's to stay, but money meant they had to move. And the people in Las Vegas are like, we really don't want them, but for money, I guess we'll take them. And they don't have a place to play and all kinds of things like that. And the Raiders did well, but it took a lot of coaxing. And then there's gambling in baseball and much other things going on. We will see how things work out, as it's going to be the temporary home of the A's, the West Sacramento Athletics, for a few years while they wait for a new home to be built in Las Vegas. And finally, number 8 story for this morning. Headline reads, 80-year-old American tourist killed in elephant attack during game drive in Zambia. The man is actually 79. I'm not sure why made headlines when 80 days, maybe they rounded up, but a 79-year-old American tourist was attacked by a bull elephant while going on a game drive in Zambia, where the incident involved as being described as an aggressive bull elephant attacking the vehicle that basically caused the issues. It is one of those things that you can't really plan for. You can't really put out there. It's this is a picture of the person. The name was not put into the actual headline, so apologies for that one. But this is sad tragedy that just you can't really plan for, you can't really put up for. Sometimes things happen. This is it. That's a really sad way to put this, but we're definitely sending our love and affection to the families as they're dealing with this and all involved in this actual incident going forward. Really no jokes to put on this one, just have to kind of put it out there. Check the link into the description to get more details on the actual incident that happened a few days back. Let's move ahead to apologies, errors, and omissions. One story we're very quickly dropping in is Netflix and the docuseries on abuse allegations at New York boarding schools, attempting to bring back to light abuse in New York boarding schools and essentially have people pay attention to them. Prompt, fresh investigations on what's going on in the New York boarding school scene. The prosecutor of New York City is currently investigating a series of abuse complaints following the release of the Academy at Ivy Ridge. That's the name of a documentary about the Academy at Ivy Ridge, prompting more looking into what's going on there. Other than that, it's been a long week, a lot of crazy stuff, and we've kind of suffered through it and survived it. So congratulations for all that going forth. Now let's get into the teaser story for this morning. This is a story that we can talk about if you deem it worthy of the love it could have or the vitriol it could have to talk about. Your headline that we may talk about come Monday on Things You Might Have Heard reads like this. The Disney Plus password sharing crackdown starts in June. Not only in June, very severely, if you will. Disney Plus is cracking down on password sharing, and we can chat that up if you deem it worthy. How does that work out? All the stories you talked about today were put into feeds on Facebook and Twitter for you to look at, engage, and vote up in your engagement. You literally told me the stories to talk about. We took 8 stories from the top 15 stories this morning, presented them to you here, and that's how it works out. Come Monday, come Monday, we're going to give you 10 stories in things you might have heard. 10 of them will come from the top 30 stories of the weekend. Basically, trying to get an average of 10 a day. Today, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a little bit of Monday as well. And we'll take 10 stories out of that 30 to give you to present there as well. If you want to make sure your story is there, make sure you're engaged in the story and put it in the top 10, put it in the top 8, top 15, whatever of the day. Go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/this is theconversationproject.com and Twitter.com/th_conversation. The more engagement you give it, that's just simply clicking like, love, hate, or sharing it with other folks. The higher score we get. And like I said, Monday we'll give you 10 stories out of 30. The rest of the week we'll give you 8 stories out of 15. That's how it works right here. We literally can't do the show without your engagement. So we thank you in advance for the advance. We also need your engagement with some of our sponsors. We're going to highlight Flowers Fast today. Flowers Fast is a website that is attached to the FTD network of florists. And what you do, if you log in early and get there fast enough, they can probably send your flowers same day. That's fast. Or next day pretty quickly as well. Flowers Fast is going to give you great flowers, also great gifts, great food stuff items, great other things you wouldn't expect, all sorts of bouquet-ish things as quickly as possible. This is the one that you may not need to do today, but I want you to remember Flowers Fast going forward, because there will be a time where you'll need some sort of gift pretty quickly, and Flowers Fast may save you. Maybe a job, maybe your life, maybe a relationship. Who knows? But we care, which is why we partner up with Flowers Fast. Go to this. It's theconversationproject.com/flowersfast. This is theconversationproject.com/flowersfast, and get your flowers fast. This is an affiliate link, so if you use Flowers Fast to get your flowers, we get a small commission, and it costs you nothing extra, but we think we earned it for giving you this link for something that you're going to need. I'm pretty sure you're going to need it, probably sooner than you think. So keep this one in your back pocket. Keep this one bookmarked for a while. It is Flowers Fast. Conversation Project lives online at thisistheconversationproject.com. This is our home for stuff. Let's just say stuff. All the stuff we have lives in the home for the stuff here. And you can find out links to our newsletter, this email version of all the links. You can find links to the audio version if you're watching the video, or the video version if you're watching the audio. You can see stories that are in the trending stories page. We're trying to figure out how to incorporate that deeper into what's going on and actually use some of those stories. But we have a list of trending stories that we may pull from on a page there as well. We have links to our sponsors, to our partnership page for folks who are deeming us worthy for partnership. And today, we're going to do a shout out, because I had a shout out come in for $2 Holler Tuesday. So reminder very quickly, you can follow our feeds, and you should, so we get the stories to talk about at the Facebook.com/this is the conversation. Also Twitter or X, th_conversation. Email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Let us know what we do on things, and consider being a partner, or just send us a one-time shout out by going to Venmo or Cash App. Because on Tuesdays, we open the gates to remind you about $2 Holler Tuesday. You can send us $2, we'll shout you out on Friday. Your shout out for today goes to Sharon G again, who this time is shouting out the baseball season. We talked about the A's opening the season in Oakland this year and in West Sacramento next year, because they're not going to Vegas for a while. Sharon, apparently a big baseball fan, and wants to do shout outs for the season, as we'll focus hopefully more on baseball, even though baseball is a long slog of the summer. It will be soon once basketball and hockey are done. And less on gambling and drugs, alcohol, and all the bad things that will happen in baseball this year. So shout outs to baseball, shout outs to Sharon G, shout outs for $2 to me, which is all of us. And if you want to be a part of this, listen out for your $2 Holler Tuesday, and follow the directions. Give us a shout out. Be a real person. Don't be a bot. Don't sell us any securities or anything like that. And we'll get your shout out in on your Friday. And because it's Friday, well, there really is nothing special about the fun stuff. We do it every single day, but fun stuff for Friday, April 5th seems a little light because we're prepping for a big weekend. WrestleMania weekend, if you're into that one. But no WrestleMania into this stuff here. Where first, we have our birthday shout-outs going to Sterling K. Brown. Spotlight on him, who's been in the news recently. That's essentially one big thing. He was playing a big part in the movie American Fiction, big player in that show as well, but just kind of being Sterling K. Brown. He's 48 years old on the day. Also love going out to Pharrell Williams, who's 51. And normally we use the spotlight for Mitch Pileggi, who's 72 years old, from the X-Files and just looking like a tough guy in various things. But essentially, the only reason why we know his name is The X-Files. 72 years old on the day as well. Our history lesson for the day, we go to 1994 because 30 years ago? Seriously? 30 years ago, singer Kurt Cobain committed suicide in his home. His body was found on April the 8th. Recently, I put on Facebook to the folks on my feed because I was getting my haircut at the barbershop and listened to the classic rock station that plays, all the Led Zeppelin, all that stuff. And I came in, they're playing Nirvana, I'm listening to it. Then the bumper hit for The Point. That's the station that was on there. And I sent a message out saying, Nirvana is classic rock, which by definition, Nirvana is 30 years old, so it's pretty much classic. But in the genuine classic rock, as a Gen Xer, thinking classic rock being all the stuff before me, now all the stuff that I listened to as a youth is essentially what the kids are calling old stuff. This is even bigger than watching them walk around with Nirvana t-shirts and things like that. This is a kind of a blow to my ego. Let's go to our word to the day. Let's learn something to make me feel a little better. The word for today is queue. Queue. And the word means a waiting line, especially of persons or vehicles, like you're standing in the queue. Or if you're in computers, your profile, your actual workload is in the queue, ready to be processed. A queue is basically the line you're standing in. More big words from the Big Words Project. Go to thebigwordsproject.com for more of that stuff. Sign up for the newsletter so you can get the word of the day. And we're going to start adding some other things to that newsletter in a bit. But you get every day in the word of the day newsletter, one definition, so that means one thing, but 3 different ways to use it in a sentence so you can sound really big with words and things. On this 5th day of April, it's Caramel Day, the day to ceremony caramel or caramel, whichever you want to do that. Get yourself some ooey gooey yummy stuff, either by itself or mixed in with other things. You will thank me for that. And one more time to take a shot for the weekend. We want to remind you that we're selling books. Yes, we're selling books. And we sell books all the time. More Better Media is a bigger media project than just this thing here. But the big thing, I talked about the Big Words Project a moment ago. Big Words Project is a project to help raise some money and awareness for reading programs. We're going to give money from the sales of these books to local reading programs here in Arkansas. The big book is Big Words You Ought to Know, Volume 1, Words from A Butt to Zest, the 100 words there. And it's now out in Kindle and in paperback. So look for it on Amazon. Look for links out there. It's all over the place. And we're going to give $1 for each book we sell going forward. Now, the big part of the project is actually, it's not just one book. It's going to be 12 books. 100 words a book. That is 1,200 words over the next 3 years. So every quarter, we're going to release a book of 100 words. Plus, we have the word of the day, which comes to you free via email and via the website. So learn some big words now. Get in the Big Words Project. Help out reading projects here in Arkansas. And if we get the sales get big enough, we get enough pub, we may take it to a national level. We'll see how that goes. But right now, one thing at a time, we got to actually get some books sold. It took a while to figure out how to get the books sold because I'm an idiot and can't press the right buttons in Amazon. But they're out there now. Get yourself a book out there. I have a batch coming in today, so I'll have some in hand to hand out to folks. But get yourself a book, learn some big words, have some fun. And with that, we're going to claim victory. Let's do that. Friday, April the 5th, 2024. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. This is, and has been, I should say, Things You Might Have Heard. Thank you for being with us for the ride today or all week if you're with us. Prepping for the weekend shows. We have a good idea what stories will be tops for the week for the weekly wrap up, but we still have to put in today's numbers so we see how those play out. We have a good idea of what will be the top stories that you claimed on. Today we gave you stories from a big bunch and then pulled the ones we wanted to talk about. Come tomorrow, you'll get a podcast and video cast that will tell you the top 10 stories per your actual engagement. Stories you actually told me were the tops. And with our new rating system, we're finding out how many stories we don't actually cover that come up in the top 10. We can track them. But so far, not including the Friday edition, 8 of 10 stories were actually covered very well in this thing here. So I think we're doing fairly good on that one. Also, the story of the week, which will be stories of the week, which will take a couple of stories and kind of riff them in a bigger way. We're doing something new with that one. So hopefully you'll enjoy that as well. Plus hot takes whenever I get a shot to get them there all over the place. Hot takes, hot takes. Look for them on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Consider being a partner. Go into our website, clicking the partnerships link and being a partner. Consider emailing us with some info as well by going to the conversation inbox, gmail.com. Make sure you go to the feeds on Facebook and Twitter and tell us stories to talk about. Don't consider it. Stay limber, hydrated, and on task for all the great things you're here to do. Love you. Mean it. It's been a week, but it's been a great week. We'll talk some special eclipse things on Monday and Tuesday after it happens. But eclipse is coming. Big weekend coming. WrestleMania weekend's coming. Final Four weekend is here. It's a big weekend. Find some way to enjoy yourself. Drop a couple cold ones, and just be cool, guys. Be cool. Love you. Mean it again. We'll see you guys. Record it tomorrow and live 5:50 a.m. Central Time come Monday with more things you might not have heard.